G'day everyone, I'm Tim Faulkner. Welcome to the Australian Reptile Park. Today I am talking about koalas. Now this is Rosie. She's a beautiful female koala. Her daughter, whose name is Elsie is just over in the back here having a feed. We might have a look at her a little later. But Elsie is now weaned from Rosie, which means that she doesn't drink milk anymore. And anytime soon, a mum like this could have another little joey. We're coming into that early winter period, and that's when we could expect our last joeys of the season. But let's talk about koalas for a minute. Koalas are world famous, one of Australia's most iconic animals. Now, sometimes people say that because they have quite a flat face, it's similar to ours, and so we're able to pick out features of that make them look as cute as they do. Now, a few facts about koalas, and let's go on to the recent and catastrophic wildfires in Australia. Terrible news for koalas, countless lives lost, millions of hectares burnt. And the thing with those fires is that they really concentrated on the east coast of Australia, and that is koala habitat. Now, in New South Wales, really alarming figures that koalas are on a trajectory to be extinct by 2050. If the fires did anything positive, it's a real wake-up call that we need to do more. Now, let's have a look. Their closest living relative is a wombat. And funnily enough, the koala's up in the tree and the wombat's underground. But if you have a look at a few of the physical characteristics, you've got an incredibly big nose. And with that, an incredible sense of smell. Now, why do they need that? Well, the only food they eat is eucalyptus. That's it behind me, gum trees. Now, eucalyptus, koalas, let's go through, do koalas drink? People ask it all the time. Sure, they drink if they need to. On a really hot day in the middle of summer, they will come down and drink. But generally, they get their moisture from the leaves they eat. And back to the big nose, they have this gigantic nose to be able to sniff out the freshest leaves. Not just any eucalyptus leaf will do. Now, come with me for a minute. And let's watch her while she walks. There's something very important just here. Look on this hand. 2 thumbs and 3 fingers. Now, it makes sense if you're a koala. You want to wrap your 3 fingers around the perch and you've got your 2 thumbs. Now, aside from the great sense of smell, their eyesight is pretty average. Now, they don't have the best vision. Ears, albeit fluffy, they're large. They can hear really, really well. And males specifically call out to let females know this is my territory or I'm around if you're ready to mate. Now, the fur and coat, this is quite a good angle. If we're looking from above, like let's say an aerial predator, an eagle or an owl, note that the koala is brown and grey and it blends in, it camouflages with its wooden trunks that it's on. Now, come down here for a minute and let's look up. The bottom is white and grey, and it's a perfect example today because it's quite a glum day with a bit of cloud. Now, that camouflages, let's say, for dingoes or goannas that are predators on the ground. The life cycle of a koala, and in a minute, I'm going to show you something that is utterly amazing. But koalas generally have 1 joey a year. Twins are possible, but really uncommon. Now, a female will come into season, and a female's territory will overlap with a male, and a single male may have 5 or 6 females overlapping his territory. Now, when they come into season, the male will mate. As a marsupial, their pregnancy is only 35 days. And a mum like this will have a joey the size of a jelly bean. Now, when that joey's born, it climbs from the cloaca, or her bottom, up to a pouch. And it spends the first 6 months of its life in there. Now, come with me. Just this week, we had our first joey koala emerge. Now, that means it's been in the pouch for 4 or 5 months. And I'm just going to be quiet here. Come and look at this. This is Ash. Hi, Ash. Look at that. Come on in. Come on in. Hi, Ash. Hi, Ash. And this beautiful mum is Rosie. And look at this. That's our second. Right there. Look up in here. That's our second koala for the season. That little head's just poking up there between mum's legs. Wow. So that's our second koala. Right there while I'm talking to you, that's popped its head out. Now, let's come back to little Ash. Look at this little white mark up on the face. Come right in close so you can see. Have a look what a great mum Rosie is. She's got her warm body there, arms down by her side, and Ash has ventured out of the pouch. So the pouch is right down in here. And here we go. Look at that. Most of the time, Ash is still in the pouch. But at times like now, he's coming out, or he or she, let's do this. We were pretty sure it was a little girl. It is. The last time that she was out, I thought it was a girl, but I couldn't see. So right then, I just very gently lifted the leg up and I had a look for a pouch or the boy parts. So Ash is definitely a little girl. Now, the reason, come around here. She's on the back now. Look at this. That's how they move when mum's climbing around. Look at that. Hello, gorgeous. You're a great mum. Now, come and have a look at this. It's a little bit gross to some people, but this here, come in nice and close. This here is the pouch. It's backward facing, and if we have a look, it still fits Ash inside. Now, see this little bit of gunk here? That's really important, and I'll tell you why. When joeys are Ash's age, they have to do a thing that's called papping. Now, when they're born, they don't have the enzyme in their belly, in their digestive system, to digest eucalyptus, the only thing they eat. They have to get that enzyme. So Ash has been in the pouch, suckling on milk, grown from a jelly bean to this size, and now she has to pap. And to do that, mum goes to the toilet, and she actually passes through some really not digested food. And when that happens, the joey eats it, and that's papping. So the joey has to eat its mum's feces to get some partially digested eucalypt along with the enzyme to digest the food. Look at this. Wow. Imagine how that feels for Ash. Been inside the pouch for the last 5 months and now having a look around the world. Now, people ask really often, I mentioned before about do koalas drink? Yes, they do. If it's hot enough, they come down and drink, but they normally get their moisture from their leaves. Something else that people really often ask is, are koalas drunk? No, they're not. What it is that their leaves are really low in nutrient, really low in energy. So what the koalas do is sleep. And to people it looks like they're drunk. But why they sleep is it's the best form of energy conservation. Save your energy and be asleep. They're awake for 4 to 6 hours a day. Guess what they're doing when they're awake? Eating. They eat, they've got one of the longest digestive tracts for their size on Earth. They keep that food in there for so long to try and extract any goodness from it, but they are not drunk. No such thing. You've just got a species that needs to conserve energy, and that's how they do it. Now, Brooke's got my little mate over here, who I saved to last. Now, this is Elsa, and Elsa's 1 year old. Now, I talked about the life cycle of a koala earlier, and so you think Elsa's 1 now, and at this point, she's left her mum. There's no more milk, and she's on her own. She's got to go out, find her own territory. It mightn't be too far away from mum, but this is the size of a koala that's just independent. The really exciting thing for us is when you know a koala's become independent at this age, is that there's going to be another one in the pouch. So mum essentially mates, and this is actually her mum. Hey, here's your little one. So they don't have a bond that lasts for life. It doesn't work like that. There's still some affection there. There's a knowingness of each other. But at this point, mum will have a little joey inside that pouch, too small for us to see, not like Ash. And Elsa will have been kicked away. She needs to fend for herself. Now, come in close and have a little look at that face. She's such an adorable little koala. Now, another thing that's really commonly asked or misused is a koala bear. Don't say it, drives me nuts. So koalas are not bears. Koalas are marsupials. You want to come up too? Come on. Up you come. Whoa. Koalas are marsupials. That means they have a pouch like we just looked at earlier. Bears are placental mammals. Okay, they have live born young. Whereas koalas, that young needs to climb into a pouch to develop. Yeah, that's your little daughter. So in about another year, little Elsa here will be old enough to have her own joey. Right now she's kept with a few other koalas her age in a preschool yard. And, you know, along with the reptile park, I mean, what you look at here is species recovery. It's a koala breeding program. Okay, we know how to do it. We know it's effective. We know we can produce koalas, and that can prevent extinction in the wild holistically. But the only place we want to see koalas is not somewhere like this. They belong in the wild. So Reptile Park has an affiliate organisation called Ozzy Ark. And Ozzy Ark is in the business of species recovery, but habitat recovery. Now, there's the obvious threat of fire. We all saw that. But koalas were already endangered before the fires. They've got habitat destruction, urban sprawl, domestic dog attacks. We've put freeways through their habitat. We've got road strike and fragmentation. And so Ozzy Ark is in the business of preserving habitat. So we address the threat of fire. We address the threat of feral pests. We address the threat of deforestation. Our sanctuaries are well preserved. And so by doing this, at the moment, we have a population of somewhere between 1 to 200 koalas in the wild. In the coming years, we think that'll grow to somewhere between 5 to 800. That's a really big number in a wild, disease-free population that we've addressed all the threats. Now, some of these koalas young, their offspring, may be released to those sanctuaries. And that's a real nice example of a model that works from species recovery to habitat recovery. And that's the holistic conservation model. Now, maybe today we'll do a few questions and go through it, please. So if you'd like to fire away.
Yeah, how long does a koala joey stay with its mum until it becomes independent?
How long does a koala joey stay with its mum before it's independent? About 10 months, maybe 12, but it's just over 10 months. And so you're talking that it's born the size of the end of my little finger, like a jelly bean, and it crawls into the pouch, and pregnancy's 35 days. Once it's in the pouch, for the first 5 months, it's pink. Its eyes are covered over with skin, its ears are folded down on its head. It needs to latch onto that teat and start and drink milk. After 5 months, we get to see little koalas like Ash. They're starting to appear from the pouch. Over the next few months, they develop. By sort of 8, 9 months old, they're pretty commonly just on mum's back. They're learning how to climb, where to feed, and still drinking milk. By 10, 11 months, they're on their own at about this size.
Why do you think people love koalas so much?
Why do people love koalas so much? They're an incredibly cute species. They're very charismatic, and they live in Australian eucalyptus trees. They're found nowhere else on Earth, and that's made them very iconic. However, there is one thing that people say, science says, and that is, koalas have a really flat face. Okay, look on the side. It's flat, like mine, opposed to, let's say, a dog with a long snout. So what I've been told is that there's a bit of a human condition, and that is what we see on a koala's face with the nose, the eyes, the ears. Our minds and our eyes visualise something that's very cute because of those features. Otherwise, they're slow, they're gentle, they're quite calm. Not always, but most of the time like this, and they're a really lovable species. I think for organisations like Reptile Park, to have koalas for people to meet, it's just incredible because most of the time they're up in a tree and there's only so much, especially kids, can get from a screen. You can't smell it, you can't touch it, you really can't see those features like you can in person. And so ambassadorial animals like Elsie here are really important. And I'm a big believer personally that people will care what they understand, or what they understand about. And so for people to be able to have an experience and meet a koala, again, especially kids, it normally means they're going to grow up to care about it, and that's really important.
Can they be aggressive?
Can koalas be aggressive? Yes. So this is a relaxed koala. Okay, it's in energy conservation mode, doesn't need to do a lot of work, wants to save that energy. Now, when it comes time for mating, it's really fierce. And it seems like the female really gets manhandled by the male. The thing is that a female won't let a male mate with her unless he is strong and aggressive, and she tests him. So the female comes into season and the male essentially has to really overpower her. But again, that's what the female is looking for. If it was a male that was scared of her, that's not a suitable genetic match for her. She wants a strong male. So when they're mating, it's quite intense. Outside of that, things like territorial disputes, two koalas in the same tree, can end in quite a vicious fight. They bite, they scratch. They're not always like this.
Can they survive if they're unable to pack?
Good question. So the question is, can Joey koalas survive if they don't eat pap? The short answer is no. It's a critical step in the development of a Joey koala. If it doesn't pap from its mum, it doesn't have the enzyme to digest eucalyptus. So the short answer is no, they won't survive. It raises a good question. When we have to hand rear a koala for a reason, like might be underweight, or a mother might have developed mastitis, or it's been abandoned, when we have to rear a koala, how do we pap the Joey? How do we get it from milk onto eucalyptus? And you know, we have to come down and find like a wet nurse. We have to find a mum that's papping at about the right stage. And you can gently, with a glove, just stimulate the mum's cloaca or her bottom, and that'll encourage her to go to the toilet. Now, when that happens, we collect the feces, we mix it down with a bit of water, and we feed it to the Joeys. And it's their first solid meal, but instinctually, when that happens, they feed at it voraciously. They know the pap's good for them. And so about a week of that, we can just collect one pap sample, freeze it or refrigerate it, and use that for a week. But again, good question. And to answer the question, no, a Joey must have pap to survive.
How many leaves do koalas eat in a day?
How much do koalas eat a day? Look, it can vary on the quality of the leaf, but generally it's about half a kilo. It's a lot of food. I mentioned earlier they have a really long digestive system. Now this is because the food is really low in nutrients and energy. So they have to eat a lot of it. It has to go through a really serious digestive system to be able to keep weight on the koala, to keep it healthy.
And last question, what made keepers pick the name Ash?
Oh, why Ash? Ash was a special name. All the keepers here at the Reptile Park and Ozzy Ark, we spent a lot of time out in the front lines of the drought and the fires. We saw really terrible things, but we do what we do because we're able to take positives from any scenario. In that case, coming to Ash is that we were all fire affected, not nearly as much as our habitats and our species, but Ash seemed really fitting because it was our first Joey after those horrific fires, and koalas were really impacted. So that's how we came up with Ash. And to begin with, we didn't know if Ash was a boy or a girl. So it was quite a gender neutral name that suited a little koala like Ash. And we've confirmed today, we've confirmed today that Ash is a little girl. Thank you. Good questions, everyone. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you learn a bit about koalas, and over and out. See you later.